Kanye has been teasing the idea of his next album, Donda, for quite some time, and in fact, I believe the first time that I remember hearing of it was around the Jesus King era, back in 2019. Now, seeing as we got a bunch of news over the last 12 hours regarding this album, we got some things to talk about. Welcome to the Bar for Bar podcast, and this week we're going to talk about what we know about Donda so far. So, we'll just get right into it. Yesterday in Las Vegas at the Church LV, there was a listening event for Donda. There was almost no rollout for it either. I think I remember seeing something about it on Saturday. This, by the way, the date that the listening event was July 18th, 2021. Today is the 19th, and Saturday being the 17th. So I believe I did see someone on Twitter post like a screenshot of the invitation, or at least the event on like the calendar or some shit. Now, at first I was just like, it's just going to be a random listening party, and it's not going to be any sort of like completed music or anything like that. Like, it's just going to be some snippets that Kanye has lying around, and ultimately it might just be promo for the Gap and Yeezy collab, maybe. Now we know that that's not the case. So this listening event, just like most listening events, you're not allowed to bring your phones in, or, well, you're not allowed to use your phones. So you have to put it into like a secure bag, where it's just like locked up and you can't really take it out until you are able to leave the venue. So most people tried, obviously. So if you do hear leaks, they were not supposed to do that. At least leaks from yesterday. Because, you know, they're going to list it. They're going to be like, oh, new Donda leak 2021 from Church LV listening event. Because people like to say as much information as possible. Anyways. So, you're not supposed to bring your phones in. Cool. Now, all this information I'm getting is from Reddit user Joseph T24 on the West Sub Ever. So I'll link that in the description and podcast notes so you guys can read it for yourself. I'm not going to read through all of it because it's pretty spoiler heavy. I'm just going to kind of touch on the important bits here. So what we know, or what's important, I guess you could say, and I guess this first thing is going to be a bit of a spoiler, but near the beginning of the event, they previewed 2 commercials that are going to be aired during Game 6 of the NBA Finals, which should be tomorrow, July 20th, 2021. Now, that's going to be interesting. The 2 commercials, I think one was a Nike commercial, which was very interesting, and then the second one was a Beats commercial, which, sure, whatever. Yeah, it's really weird that it is a Nike commercial because, as you know, Kanye is with Adidas, but maybe he's working with Nike again for something, or maybe he just, I don't know. We we don't have a whole lot of information regarding those commercials. We just have the commercials. And like apparently the 2 songs that are going to be on it, but I'm not going to list all that because I don't want to spoil it for people who actually want to wait and hear. But like I said, the link will be in the description. So with that, in my mind, I'm like, so that means it's real, right? Because there's no reason to even put out new music that's going to be in a commercial if you're not going to be releasing it. I mean, you can. I mean, look at what was it, Watch for Detox from Kendrick, or like no, that was a different track. It was that track that he did for the Beats Pill commercial, but that never got released. So, I mean, I guess you could do that too, but I find that unlikely in this case. But yeah, so that's the first sign that this sounds like it's legitimately releasing soon, or that it's near completion, if not already completed. Aside from that, we have, again, going off of the Reddit user's post, it sounds finished. Like the album sounds complete. And what that means is it doesn't sound like everything's mastered and mixed properly. I mean, he did mention that there were some songs that were super bass heavy, but again, you're in a church, so the acoustics may not be ideal, which is kind of surprising because you would expect a church to have really good acoustics if they're having pianos and organs playing, but whatever. It's not meant for that sort of music, let's say that. So that was very interesting as well. So that really just does make it seem like it's going to be released soon. The other hint that we get that it's releasing soon isn't actually from him, but I mean, at the time of recording, like literally 5 minutes, no, was it 11:25? About 25 minutes ago, they started selling tickets for another listening event in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And that event is on Thursday night. So, something's happening for sure. And it's very interesting because Kanye has been pretty quiet recently. So, before I get into that part, when is it going to release? I think the earliest we can get it is Friday. I don't know that that's going to be the case, given Kanye's track record, because, you know, he tends to just say it's going to release and then get it pushed back, and it'll drop eventually. However, the way that it's being handled this time around kind of goes into what I was going to talk about with Kanye not saying much. It doesn't sound like Kanye is the one that's kind of in control of everything this time around. It sounds like he's letting management or someone else handle the rollout. I mean, it could very well just be Kanye too, and he's just gotten in a different mindset entirely. But I think he's got other people helping him out. And going into him not saying much, that makes it very interesting, right? Because typically when Kanye albums are rolling out, he makes a pretty big deal about it. I mean, at least in my memory, when I've been like super attentive to what's happening, like every rollout from, I guess, 808s and Heartbreak too, has had some fanfare to it, some sort of like noise associated with it. I mean, with 808s and Heartbreak, I mean, he performed the songs at the VMAs. I think that was that when he called out Taylor Swift? No, that was for My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, I believe. But still, that one had a lot going on. Yeezus had a lot going on. Everything, like The Life of Pablo was, it was at Yeezus season 3, right? So there was a lot happening. There was a lot to pull together. So there was, you know, Kanye tends to do a lot. And what came out after The Life of Pablo? Was it Ye? Yeah, it was Ye. So, I mean, even with that, like, he did his whole Surgical Summer thing. Everyone had their own album with Kanye production. So, there's been a lot going on. And even with Jesus is King, like, he's been doing his whole Sunday service run. So, you know, this is strange for him to not say anything. And I don't even know how people found out about this listening event that's happening on Thursday, other than people on Twitter. I guess I think someone said Consequence posted on Instagram, so everyone was like, ooh, I'm gonna sign up, or I'm gonna try to get tickets for that. I think people are getting tickets for that, but that's gonna be crazy, I'm sure. But it's weird, right? Like, also, how did people find out about the event yesterday? Like, that to me makes even less sense. Like, it's a small event, like, and Kanye just did it. Now, I don't know when this album's coming out. Like I mentioned, I think assuming it's done, because I think someone, maybe in the Reddit post that I was mentioning, but someone said that the album is turned in. So it's complete. Like, there's no more tweaking it. So it's ready to be dropped pretty much whenever. Does that mean it's coming out on Friday? Maybe. We'll have to see. We have a couple more days to really get some more information. I mean, we learned just so much about the album itself just yesterday, so, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, man. But it really does sound like this album is ready to be dropped. And it's, like I mentioned, Kanye's been through a lot, so it sounds like he's going to be touching on a bit of that. And then getting into that a little bit, I felt really bad because everyone was like when the whole divorce was happening, people are like, oh, we're going to get 808s too. I'm like, y'all are messed up. But I mean, that might happen. Like, we might get a little bit of that. I'm also one of those people who, when they read spoilers, I just blank out entirely, so I don't even remember what it says, even though I have it pulled up here. So what I'm hoping from it is just something different. I mean, Kanye's albums have been different for, like, every album's been pretty different, I'd say, except for his first two. They were most similar in sound, sonically. But everything after that has been completely different, and like no two albums have been the same. They've all had different, I guess, aspects of each other pulled in, but nothing that just sounded the same. So we're in for something different. I know that, but it's likely to be a mix of what we've been hearing throughout his career, as you know, we've been getting in the past. But yeah, I have no idea when this is coming out. It's interesting. Like, I don't know what we're gonna get. I'm gonna just leave it at that, because I'm genuinely at a loss for what to expect. But given it is titled Donda, I guess we can expect something a little bit more introspective and somber in nature. So Kanye is probably going to be talking about family and his mom, for sure. I mean, it's titled after her, of course. Aside from that, we also got some information regarding, I mean, I guess a potential album cover. So I guess I forgot who originally posted it, but on the Donda's Place Instagram, they posted the cover, which they incorrectly credited Northwest for the album cover, but it was actually a painting from Louise Bourgeois, which is actually really interesting, because I just read a little bit about her, and apparently she had lost her mother at a young age as well, and a lot of her art and sculptures are dedicated to her. Like, the most notable one is the spider sculpture, which is very interesting to call your mother a spider, but like, her reasoning made sense. Like, she's very meticulous, very, like, and a weaver as well, so it made sense. But anyways, this cover is supposed to be in a series of paintings by her, and I entirely forgot what it was called, but I think it was, again, dedicated to her mother. Let me see if I can pull it up. But yeah, like I'm not gonna find it anytime soon. Original painting. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna find it. It's online, but basically this whole series is dedicated to her mother, and it's very interesting because it's all painted in red, so there's some blood relation there. But it's interesting, like, if that's like, Kanye knows what he's doing with that, right? Like, he found an artist who has also lost their mother at a fairly young age. I mean, Kanye didn't lose his mother super young, but, you know, like, still young enough. But there's just a lot of things to pull from there. Yeah, so it makes sense that he's doing that, I guess. Other than that, I mean, it's hard to say what we're gonna get. It seems to be I guess we can say that, like, the album is going to be around 40 to 45 minutes, and it's like 12, 13 tracks. Sounds a bit normal. Yeah, I can just read off the bottom part, the TLDR, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Like, there's not a whole lot of spoiler sense in there, but Donda speaks on some of the tracks. There's theatrical production, which is interesting. There's heavy synths and heavy bass, which again could be because of the room that they're in. I imagine it's going to be a little bit more toned down. I mean, in terms of bass, but we'll see. There's a lot of piano, which makes sense. I mean, if it's going to be, at least from my reasoning, if it's going to be a more somber album, having piano helps. And apparently it's also very lyrical, which isn't something that I would normally attribute to Kanye, at least in recent years. But like I mentioned, Kanye has gone through a lot in the last few years, so it makes sense. He has things to say. Again, everyone's definition of lyrical is different, so this person's definition of lyrical might be something very minor. My definition of lyrical is completely different, so, we'll have to wait and see for that as well. But yeah, like, this whole rollout is very interesting, and it kind of touches on the podcast last week where I touched on the how we've slightly seen a change in album rollouts, where you hear an announcement and then the album's here. This is a little bit different because it's seeming to be more of a surprise drop, even though there's listening events. But I mean, Kanye is one of those people that can just drop whenever he wants and it'll do well. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he just drops it without any sort of announcement. I mean, he hasn't announced anything himself yet. And I think the only person that's, I mean, not person, but like the only reputable sources that I've seen so far was Def Jam, who tweeted Yeezy Season, and Jay Electronica, who tweeted something very similar. But also, I don't follow a whole lot of people that are around Kanye, so there is that too. I'm sure there's a lot more people saying stuff. But also, I mean, given how Kanye is trying to roll this out, it seems like I would imagine that he would want them to be a little bit more quiet. But also, maybe that's part of the rollout. And I think the last thing that we saw outside of Kanye's direct camp was from Tyler. I think it was on Instagram, or someone else posted it, where Tyler was in the studio with Kanye listening to unreleased music. So, I mean, that's other confirmation, I suppose. We'll just see. But yeah, this is interesting. I am very curious because, so like I was saying, the album rollouts, like, they have changed a bit. Like, where we just get an announcement and then the album. Maybe he's trying to go that route where instead of making like actual announcements, he just gonna have these private listening events that people just somehow figure out about, and here we are. Here's the album. Who knows? I'm very curious to see if they're gonna do the same thing as they did with the listening event yesterday, where they're not allowed to bring in cell phones when they do the one in Atlanta, that is. Just because it's a much bigger venue, I feel like it'd be a lot harder to limit that. So I suppose Thursday night, assuming we don't get the album that day, I guess, we're going to be seeing a lot of leaks and a lot of photos and a lot of videos. They're all going to be very low quality because people are going to record it on Instagram or Snapchat instead of on their actual camera. But that's the tech nerd in me getting upset about that. Anyways, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. that's all I'm going to say regarding this album, because, there's just, I don't want to spoil anything, and also there's only so much information out there. Like, the biggest bit of information really is from this Reddit user who basically did a whole timeline of events. But yeah, like I said, I will post this in the video description and podcast notes, so you can read it for yourself if you are interested. Yeah, there's a lot to read with it, so get excited, I suppose. Yeah, that's all I got for that. At this point, let's just go over some news bits real quick, because that's a normal thing to do at the end of the podcast. So over the last week, not a whole lot that I saw that really needed much discussion. First thing, I guess, that I don't know why I didn't save it, but Isaiah Rashad's album is finally dropping. I think I might have mentioned that last week. I don't remember anymore when they actually made the announcement, but it's dropping at the end of the month on the 30th. So I'm very excited for that. He also dropped a freestyle to Slow Motion, so check that out if you're interested. It's a vibe. I don't know why I said that. We got a confirmation for the next versus battle. It's going to be the Lokes versus the Diplomats, and it's going to be at Madison Square Garden, which, is this the biggest versus event that they've had so far? That's dope. Lil Durk and India got shot at their house in Georgia. Thankfully, they're safe. There's also people who were like, "Oh, relationship goals." Like, bro, they just got shot at. What? But yeah, like, there wasn't a whole lot of news, and there was also not a whole lot of albums that dropped that I was very interested in. I guess I can go on a bit of a rant with this Pop Smoke album. I didn't listen to it fully, but so Pop Smoke's album Faith, his second posthumous album, dropped, and so this album wasn't, in my mind, meant to be released. The reason it was released is because his mother wanted to be released, and for some, well, not for some reason, his mother didn't listen to Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon. So maybe that's why she wanted this album to come out. But from what I've heard, it's not great. The biggest issue I have with it is apparently they took out a lot of the people who were originally on some of these songs, who were much closer to Pop Smoke, who are actually his boys, and replaced them with people who he's probably never interacted with. I mean, well, not even probably, he definitely didn't interact with most of these people. Like, did you really think that he would do a song with Dua Lipa? Like, what? Well, anyways, I mean, he did the song with Dua Lipa, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, though. My camera started overheating, so I'm just gonna cut it off there. It's also very warm in here, so I'm not surprised. Anyways, that's all I got for this podcast. Let me know in the comments below what you thought regarding all the news about Donda. Are we actually gonna get it this week? Are we gonna get it soon? Is it ever coming out? Well, I'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But let me know what you think. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more podcasts and ramblings like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.